Well, I am Kim Stewart. I am the Sheriff of Doa Ana County. I am finishing up the fourth year of my four-year term, and I am running for re-election. Right now, I'm the only one between my opponent and I that actually has experience of being the sheriff. So I do speak from a position of some detail.
Well, we'll build off of that, getting right into this. Why do you believe you're the best choice to be reelected for sheriff?
Well, government works slowly, unfortunately, and the best effort to change and organize and structure this department has been put into place in the last 4 years, and it was definitely needed here. It was in really total disarray. Things like no policy and procedure, things like positions that were outdated and outmoded and needed to be updated, things such as our position with regard to current grant fundings, which has to do with crisis intervention training and programming. A lot of those things are in the works right now that we need to continue to weave into the fabric of the department. And since I've been an active player in this, I intend to continue that, and I believe it is needed to firmly cement a lot of what we have accomplished and what we intend to accomplish in the future. It is a very difficult thing to cement a lot of change over time in government, and certainly it would help. I have been unlike my predecessors, I come every day to work. And I don't just work one day a month. I don't operate a business on the side. This is my business. This is what I do for a living. So I am very involved, and I'm intimately involved in how this operation works in every unit, in every division.
I wanted to ask, in your opinion, what do you believe are the biggest challenges that your office is currently facing right now? And how do you plan to deal with them in the future?
I think at this point, we definitely need, now that we have the infrastructure in place, we definitely need a strategic plan going forward. So beginning in December, we will begin the process to develop a strategic plan for the next 4 years. Bear in mind, we're having to look beyond the immediate. So if I'm number one, we're not 44 positions down. Okay, that's a myth. We're about 24 down, 19 of those are to fill recruit positions, so you're looking at about 7. I do have some support staff positions open. Some will be filled, but I need them open to reclass them into positions we actually need. That's the way you manage the budget. You have to know a little bit about budgeting and finance to understand that. The strategic plan is going to address going forward, how do we make plans now to begin to grow our department? We have been essentially holding firm, really lifting up those divisions that should have been lifted up before, had been ignored. We're going to begin to look now to the future. So I have an intel unit. I did develop it. That has really helped us on a local level, both for patrol and criminal investigations. We need to expand the intel unit to make it more of a, to bring in intel analysts, for example. That's a position this department has never had. We have a criminal analyst, but we need intel analysts. So let's think of it in terms of developing some of these areas where we wanted to move forward more quickly, but because of disarray, we had to work on the infrastructure. So we're going to move forward in terms of fully looking to the future for the next 4 years and seeing where we can fill holes in current service levels and expand other areas that our county needs to be more proactive in. And by the way, that's the county as a whole. The Sheriff's Department doesn't operate in a vacuum. So there are a lot of moving parts that go along with this. If, for instance, animal control will remain in community development, most likely it's not going to be brought back to the sheriff's office. That was a decision made by the county management. It was made by me, and that's an area where I could see us getting a little more hand in hand with some of their efforts. I'll tell you, codes is an enormous problem. While animal control might be make the headlines, code enforcement is also a big area. So I would like for us, and I've talked to the community development director, to get involved in blighted property. Can we move forward in terms of blighted properties and getting them either made whole again, either that or demolished, because those are areas where crime can grow. So there are a lot of details, but really the job of sheriff is about a lot of details if you take it seriously.
Now, your opponent, Byron Hollister, has made some comments. Two of the ones that stood out to me were he stated that you lacked experience to hold this office, and he also talked about the way that you handled the firing of your undersheriff.
Well, first of all, I am the only one between us that's been the sheriff, so I obviously have 4 years of experience there. I also came out of line law enforcement where I fulfilled almost every obligation or role that you could imagine in law enforcement in a far busier jurisdiction than this, frankly. And I think that to include district attorney investigators, so I'm quite aware of how the district attorney's office works or should work. I'm quite aware of what our role is in that criminal justice process. And then the 20 years I was out, I did contract investigation for the United States government. So those were a variety of experiences that certainly my opponent can only imagine. That he has nothing close to those types. And by the way, I did that in about 30 states. So it's been quite a career path to get me to this point. I'm also worked for the county for 2 years, during which time I was in internal affairs. So I was very involved in how all the departments in this county work. And because government works slowly, I could step back into that role years later and be pretty knowledgeable about things like finance and procurement and facilities. I mean, it goes on and on. The other thing is my relationship with the elected officials is very good, and we work very closely together in terms of working about looking at our role as elected officials. That's, again, I lost track of where I am.